Console players have a lot to be proud of. Incredible exclusives, seamless experiences, games built specifically for their platform. But there is a whole world of gaming that console players will simply never get to experience, and most of them don't even know what they're missing. PC gaming has quietly been sitting on some of the most unique, most creative, and most technically impressive games ever made, titles that could never exist on a console, built specifically for the freedom that only a PC can offer. Mods, strategy depth, simulation complexity, control precision, some games just belong on PC, and no amount of porting is ever going to change that. Today, we're putting it all on the table. These are 20 PC exclusive games that console players will never get, and honestly, they might just make you consider switching. Let's get into it. Dwarf Fortress has been in development since 2002 by two brothers who literally cannot stop adding to it. Every dwarf has a name, a personality, fears, memories, relationships, a favorite food, and a preferred hand. Caverns flood, cats spread miasma, nobles make insane demands, legendary miners go mad from losing their friends and carve disturbing sculptures into the walls. The 2022 Steam release finally gave it graphics and a proper UI, and introduced it to a whole new generation of players. It sold hundreds of thousands of copies immediately, and there is zero chance of a console version. The complexity is irreducible. You cannot simplify Dwarf Fortress, you can only experience it, and only on PC. Against the Storm is a roguelite city builder set in a world of eternal rain, and it is one of the tightest, most satisfying strategy games released in years. Every run, you're dropped into a new procedurally generated forest, managing 4 different species with different needs, different preferences, different abilities. You're balancing production, morale, and storm cycles while working toward a meta progression that carries between runs. It won Strategy Game of the Year from multiple outlets. The critical response was glowing, and console players got nothing because the resource queue management, the building priority systems, and the nested supply chains are completely mouse-driven. If you're watching this on a PlayStation right now, this one genuinely hurts.
Foxhole is running right now. The war on its servers has never stopped. Thousands of real players are holding front lines, driving supply trucks, building bunkers, and coordinating attacks, all without a game master, all without scripted missions, all emergent. It hit version 1.0 and the wars just kept going. Some players are logistics specialists who never fire a single shot. They just keep the supply lines alive. Some are dedicated engineers who fortify positions for hours. Some are commanders coordinating full assaults. It's the closest a video game has ever come to simulating an actual persistent conflict. And because the server infrastructure and the scope of the player coordination is built entirely around PC architecture, console players have never once been part of this war, and they never will.
Squad is not Call of Duty. Squad is not Battlefield. Squad is 100 real players split into squads of 9 with dedicated squad leaders, logistics vehicles carrying ammunition across kilometers of map, mortar teams calculating fire angles, and medics crawling through mud to revive the wounded. Communication is mandatory, not optional, mandatory. If your squad leader goes down and nobody steps up, your whole section of the front collapses. The teamwork required is unlike anything else in gaming, and a controller cannot keep up with the map reading, the quick inventory management, the weapon handling precision that Squad demands. It's a military simulation built by people who genuinely studied how squad-level tactics work. Console players don't get this. Honestly, most people don't even know it exists.
The first Frostpunk came to console. Console players loved it. Then 11-bit studios went and made Frostpunk 2, a bigger, darker, more politically complex sequel, where you're not just keeping a city alive, you're managing factions, passing laws, handling council votes, and deciding which districts freeze so others survive. It's a game about impossible choices at a systemic level. 11-bit confirmed no console version is in development.
The district planning grid, the faction negotiation UI, and the law drafting system all require a level of interface precision that simply doesn't work on a TV with a controller. So console players who fell in love with the original are sitting out the sequel. That's a brutal sequel to miss. One person built Manor Lords. One. Gregory Stitchin spent years creating a medieval city builder where every house is individually placed. Every Burgett plot grows its own vegetable garden, and your peasants have actual needs that change with the seasons. Then he released it into early access and sold 2 million copies in the first week. The internet went absolutely wild for it, and not a single console player could touch it, because the plot-by-plot building system requires precise cursor placement. The tactical battle layer needs real-time mouse control, and there's simply no console version in existence or in planning. A solo developer outsold most studio releases and kept it exclusive to PC without even trying. That's the story. Satisfactory is a first-person factory builder on an alien planet. You start with your hands in a mining drill. You end up with a continent-spanning network of conveyor belts, power lines, train systems, and automated assembly plants producing thousands of items per minute. The 1.0 release finally completed the vision, and the player response was enormous. People spent hundreds of hours on single save files. The builds some players have constructed are genuinely architectural achievements. No console release has been announced. The reason is the build tool. Placing conveyors, snapping connections, managing power grids. All of it needs mouse precision at a speed that a controller joystick physically cannot match. Satisfactory is one of the best games made in years. Console players haven't seen a single frame of it in their own hands. This one is particularly painful for console players, because they were actually promised Cities Skylines 2. A console version was announced, then delayed again. Then the console development team was restructured, then it went quiet. As it stands, the full Cities Skylines 2 experience exists only on PC. And while the launch had some rocky performance issues that Colossal Order has been steadily fixing, the depth of the simulation is extraordinary. Traffic AI, economic modeling, district policies, climate systems, the modding toolkit, all of it is PC. Console players who loved the first game are still waiting, and the waiting has gone on long enough that most of them have stopped expecting it. PC players built entire metropolitan regions, while the console version sat in limbo. Bannerlord lets you start as a broke wanderer with a single horse and turn yourself into the ruler of a continent. You recruit companions, build armies, siege castles, manage fiefs, trade goods between cities, and fight in real-time battles where you're personally commanding hundreds of soldiers. The campaign never tells you what to do. You set the goal. Tailworlds has never announced a console port, and when you look at the companion management screens, the trigger plinging, the siege preparation menus, it becomes clear why. The depth is the feature. A console-friendly version would be a fundamentally different, lesser game. Bannerlord has been one of the most played games on Steam for years. Console players don't even know what they're missing. The Total War Warhammer trilogy is one of the greatest achievements in strategy gaming. 3 massive games, hundreds of faction combinations, a combined roster of over 350 units, and a campaign map that spans the entire Warhammer world. Warhammer 3 alone has been expanded with so much post-launch content that it became a completely different game from what launched, and through all of it, nothing on console. The Total War series has never been on console, and the reason is structural. During a large battle, you might be managing reinforcements, splitting cavalry flanks, ordering artillery repositioning, and tracking multiple unit states simultaneously. That's 4 different things your left hand and your right hand need to do at once. A controller has 2 thumbsticks. The math doesn't work. Crusader Kings 3 is not a game about winning. It's a game about the story. You start as a medieval lord somewhere in 867 AD or 1066 AD, and you just live. You scheme against your siblings, you marry strategically. Your heir is born an imbecile, and you have to figure out how to fix the bloodline before your kingdom collapses. Your court physician might be secretly a witch. Your spy master is plotting with your eldest son. Paradox explored bringing it to console. It was tested on Game Pass, and the feedback was clear. The interface has hundreds of nested menus and tooltip chains that are physically impossible to navigate with a controller at the speed the game demands. This is a game where the tutorial alone has 30 hours of depth. Console players aren't equipped for this one. Star Citizen has raised over $700 million from backers. $700 million. It's still an alpha. And somewhere in that chaos is the most visually stunning space game ever built. A universe where you can walk from your apartment to your hangar, board your ship, fly into space, land on a planet's surface, drive across terrain, enter a cave, fight enemies, loot cargo, and return to a space station, all without a single loading screen. The technical ambition is genuinely unprecedented. There is no console version. There will never be a console version at this scope. The game requires high-end PC hardware just to run at a reasonable frame rate. Whatever you think of the development timeline, what's already playable is something console hardware cannot render. This one is PC exclusive by necessity.
RimWorld doesn't have a campaign. It has an AI storyteller that watches what you're doing and decides what to throw at you next. Playing too well? Here's a disease outbreak. Recovering from a raid? Here's a heat wave. Getting comfortable? A psychic ship just landed and your best colonist has gone berserk. The game generates stories that people talk about for years. The cook who went insane, the refugee who turned out to be an assassin, the colonist who ate the last dog during a food crisis. Add the mod workshop, which has thousands of mods that change almost everything about the game, and you have an experience that is fundamentally PC native. Tyne and Sylvester has no console plans. The mod community alone makes that essentially impossible. This is a PC game down to its bones. Factorio sits at the top of Steam's all-time rating chart. Not just strategy games, all games. Over 80,000 reviews, and it's sitting at overwhelmingly positive. The Space Age expansion launched, and people took days off work. The premise is simple. Crash land on an alien planet, build a rocket, escape. The reality is a manufacturing empire of tens of thousands of machines, conveyor belts, circuit networks, and train logistics that span entire continents. People have spent thousands of hours on single save files. Woob has explicitly said a console port is not planned. The game requires mouse precision for placing buildings, routing belts, and managing circuit conditions at a speed that is simply not possible with a controller. The highest rated game on Steam is something console players will never play. Let that sink in. Escape from Tarkov is not a game. It's a psychological experience. You drop into a raid with gear you spent hours collecting. Every sound matters. The crunch of gravel under boots, the distant echo of a door closing 2 floors up. You move slow, you check corners, and then you get shot by someone you never saw through a wall you didn't know was thin, and you lose everything. The inventory system alone, with weapon modding, ammunition types, container management, and flea market trading, is more complex than most games' entire mechanics. A controller cannot navigate it at the speed Tarkov demands. The audio precision requires headphones and PC-grade spatial audio processing. Battlestate has kept this PC only for years, and there is no credible sign that's changing. This is the game console players talk about in hushed tones, the one that got away.